Greetings. Welcome to our HBCU Connect event in partnership with Visa. My name is Will Moss. I am the CEO and founder of HBCU Connect, and I will be your moderator for this evening's event. If you're just now joining us for the first part of our event, please stay on mute and keep your video off so that we can focus on the video feed and presentation from our panelists that have graciously volunteered their time to share their experiences from Visa. Once we get to the breakout sessions, you will have the opportunity to turn on your audio and video, to introduce yourself, to ask questions. But once we get to that portion of the event, I will let you know. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I like to do is set expectations around the agenda for this evening's event. So first things first, I'll do a quick welcome, 3-minute background on HBCU Connect in case this is your first HBCU Connect hiring event, our partnership with Visa, and then the opportunity for you this evening because you are in the right place at the right time. All right, next thing we'll do is I'll introduce the team members that have graciously, like I said, volunteered their time to share their experience at Visa. So they'll introduce themselves, give some background so you know and have some context around who you are talking to there at Visa. And I think you'll be impressed with the folks that the team at Visa has put together for this evening's event. So we'll introduce everyone. After everyone is introduced, we'll go into sort of a podcast style discussion, followed by a live Q&A, allowing you the opportunity to ask questions of our, in the chat. Then I'll ask those questions and integrate those questions into our panel discussion to give you a little bit of background on the Visa culture, a little bit of background on what it's like to be an African-American or a diverse professional at Visa. Then once we have that live Q&A and that discussion, after that, we'll open up our breakout sessions. So what I want you to do as candidates is really pay attention to our panelists, the areas of the business that they represent, so that by the time we get to the breakout sessions, which breakout session you want to go into and who you want to engage with and ask questions to in those breakout sessions. So feel free to take some notes as we go. Feel free to write down any questions that you have. So once you get into the breakout sessions, you can ask those questions and engage and make the most of this special hiring event. Then after the breakout sessions, we'll come back and have some final words from a representative from HR or talent acquisition at Visa. Then we'll end the event and talk about next steps. All right, so let's jump right into it. So first of all, like I said, my name is Will Moss, founder and CEO of HBCU Connect. HBCU Connect for me is a passion project that I started many years ago as I came out of Hampton University with a degree in computer science. Super excited about the experience that I had and wanted to share that experience with others and also perpetuate the diversity hiring and pipelining experience I had, as well as I got pulled in to work at AT&T Bell Labs as a software engineer due to a relationship they had with my HBCU. Fast forward to, after starting the website, a couple years in, we started to engage with partners that wanted to recruit from our database of students and graduates from HBCUs. We started building relationships, and I came out in 2004 to run the company full time and brought on a team of whoever I could get to join me. So we've been around for a long time. Some of the partnerships that we had in the online space running HBCUconnect.com led into discussions about how can we make sure that folks from, diverse communities, specifically the HBCU community and our growing Latinx community, how can we make sure to get you all in front of our partners, not just online, but in person, and to have conversations that will lead to interviews and folks being hired, in an efficient manner. And so we came up with the idea of hosting events, diversity recruitment events, originally in person in different locations all over the country. We've been all over the West Coast, from Seattle to California, down to Texas, across to the South in Atlanta, Georgia, North Carolina, DC, Maryland, Virginia, up to New York, and even in the Midwest. We've been hosting events all over the country, but fast forward to COVID-19, 2020, kudos to a lot of our partners. Instead of canceling events that we had planned to provide opportunities to our audience, instead of canceling the events, our partners decided to partner on doing the events virtually. So that brings us to where we are today and the opportunity for you is that this is not just a branding event, right? This is not just like going to a career fair. You stand in line, you have your resume, you have a conversation, and then maybe you never hear from the company again. This is an intentional event to give you exposure into the opportunities at Visa, and then allow you the opportunity in the breakout sessions to engage, ask questions, and see how you may fit in. And then hopefully we'll share your resume with the Visa team, but we're also going to encourage you to apply for opportunities within Visa, and then bring you all in for interviews, and hopefully some of you get hired as a result of this event. So the engagement is for you all to have the opportunity to be hired. So you're, like I said, you're in the right place at the right time. I'm super excited for you all to learn and hear from the team members at Visa. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce our first panelist. So Brian Greene is the Vice President, Global Lead, Data Center Engineering and Operations. Brian, if you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Will. And welcome to all of you that are on the call today as you navigate your careers and figure out what you want to do. I'll start off by saying I'm in my early 50s, and I only figured out what I wanted to do when I grew up about 8 years ago when I joined Visa. So a little bit about my background. My undergrad was at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and coming into that experience, I chose to do that because when I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be a naval officer for my entire life, see the world, and have lots of fun. When I got to school and started having my initial experiences, I realized while it's fun, it's not what I wanted to do. And I had to really buckle down to figure out how I was going to graduate. And the whole topic of electrical engineering, I'm a political science major. However, most of my academic experience has been in the hard sciences and engineering, did its best to try to keep me from graduating, and it failed, luckily for me and for my parents, who were very happy that I was there. But ultimately, that being my worst subject, and I like to say, as you go through your career, you start to hear themes and rhymes. But the funny thing is, and I think God has a sense of humor, my first job out of the academy was as the electrical officer on board the USS Wasp, where I was responsible for all the electrical lighting for the ship, the gyros, interior communications, in life or death situations out in the middle of the ocean. And as I look back at it, 30 plus years later, it's very similar to the role I have now, basically running a data center that cannot go down. And that's been the constant theme of my career. After my experiences in the Navy, I decided, hey, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. Now, smart people go to med school, smart people go to law school. I took the MBA route. And I have to be honest with you, as I did it, I didn't know a spreadsheet from a bed sheet, but I did know that that was something that was going to help propel me forward in terms of what I wanted to do. After business school at UVA, I went to Sprint Communications, because at that point, height of the dot-com boom, that I knew I wanted to be in an industry where I could grow, lots of different opportunities, and also support what's going to happen in terms of the whole the intranet and stuff. The key thing I got out of that experience was as a rotational program, and I got to see different aspects of the business as I continued to see what I wanted to do long-term in my career. And then also beyond that, while I was doing that, I had the opportunity to join JP Morgan, got a tap on the shoulder. Hey, would you like to come to essentially support our investment bank in terms of desktop support, help desk, and you've done that before in your career. Would you like to do it? I said, sure, because at that point I'd identified that at some point in my life, I wanted to be an expat and run a global organization. And I got to do both of those while at JP Morgan, a couple of different roles. I happened to join at the height of the global financial crisis, which was quite an interesting experience. Had an opportunity to be an expat in Hong Kong with my family, doing data center consolidation. And as that was ending, I got the tap on the shoulder to figure out how to, what I want to be when I grow up. And now I have the opportunity to lead the data centers and a critical infrastructure piece for a company that does $11 trillion worth of value annually, $500 billion worth of, or 500 billion transactions per year. And what we do in the data center space, if we have a bad day, the world economy blows up. And I would have only got here had it been for me constantly seeking harder jobs or trying to figure out generally what I wanted to do and identifying the things that made me happy. And that's me.
Awesome. May I follow up with a couple of questions for you?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I think these will be relevant for our candidates. The first one is, what are some of the backgrounds that you typically hire for in your particular organization?
I think that one of the things that I think about in terms of hiring, it's really looking for people that ask great questions, people that have the just fire and curiosity. And I'll be honest, every single job that I had and been successful for, up to and including this one, I would not have hired myself off the street. But I believed that I was willing to learn. I was willing to meet people, great responsibilities, and never say no to a hard task. And just being authentic of who I was and just not being, taking it too defensively.
Awesome. Are there any typical types of roles or job titles where you see the business having a need to do a lot of hiring in any areas, specific areas?
Sure. Like in the technology space, there's a lot of hiring for data analysts. There's a lot of hiring going on right now in the infrastructure space that I sit in. And there's a wide range of spectrum of things to do, ranging from what we do in a data center, the actual physical aspects of supporting a digital infrastructure, to project managers, computer scientists, also looking at application developers, but anything as it relates to tech, we're hiring and we're looking for good talent. So we'd love to talk to you more about that.
Okay, and so here's my favorite question that I like to ask. Probably we'll ask this to all of our panelists, and that is, what is it for you personally that you like most about working for Visa?
Their ability to support us, helping people grow in their careers. I think Visa's culture is one of those places where it's very important that you treat people with respect. Our whole brand offering is about being the best way to be paid for everyone everywhere. We have to be accepting of everything and everybody. Otherwise, our brand promise ends. And we're very serious about that. And, from our CEO on down, as you look at D&I, it's how we do business, and not just a part of the business. It's how we think about the world, because we depend so much on collaboration. If there's anybody out there that has a great idea and has an opportunity to share that, if they don't feel comfortable, or if they're not even sitting at the table, we're not going to advance. And that's just critical to who we are as a company.
Awesome. So Brian, let me thank you for being one of our panelists. I'll ask you to hang on for our panel discussion, but I'll go ahead and introduce our next presenter. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
All right. So our next Visa, representative is Jasmine Smith, Senior Vice President, Deputy Head of People, Visa Europe. And a special shout out to Jasmine, because Jasmine is with us from a totally different time zone. So thank you for joining us, Jasmine.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me, and really happy to be here, and hello to everyone. So yes, I am on a different time zone. It's a little after 2 a.m. where I'm at. I'm in Dubai. So that just lets you know how committed I was to being here to speak to all of you, and just really happy to have the opportunity to be able to do so. So thanks for having me. Let's see, I can tell you a little bit about myself. I love resumes. It's funny, I'm in HR, what we call at Visa, the people organization, but you see a few of these bullet points about me, but a resume, or a CV, as some may call it, doesn't ever really tell someone's story, right? And so I grew up in Southern California, raised by my very, very religious and old school grandparents, and went to UC Berkeley, happy to get out of the home, going to church 6 times a week, and out of my little town that I grew up in, and went to school in California, which was Berkeley, which I got accepted to a few other schools, and they said, nope, gotta go there. That's in state. There you go. And so there I did go. So, and I had a good run there. And I would say when you think about, did I know what I wanted to be when I grew up? Not necessarily. To be honest, I thought I was going to be on Capitol Hill, perhaps a lobbyist fighting for something that I believed in some way, or an activist, or um, I wanted to go to law school in DC and sort of be in that space. But life had a different path for me, actually. So I had a child young, right out of college, with my boyfriend, became a husband, and here we go. And I think, and that happened right around 9/11. And folks like me that really didn't have much experience outside of college, with a 1-year-old trying to get a job, it didn't seem really possible. And so when I think of where kind of I am today and the journey from there to then, for me, is something that I'm super proud of and wouldn't have imagined, because my first job was as a claims adjuster. That's who would hire me after the recession of 9/11, with no experience whatsoever. And from there, I decided to sort of build a career. And I knew what I wanted to do is I wanted to try to help people and fight for what was right, in a way. And I did that in other avenues in my community. But as far as from my work life, I said, how could I do that? And so I took a windy path. And after doing claims adjusting and helping people with their car accidents, I got a job at Gap. And that was a really great opportunity. Somebody just happened to hire me, who knew of me, knew I was looking for something different, knew I was ambitious, knew I had a family, and we were trying to do the best we could as young parents. And I came in as a merchandise planner, which is the product side of finance within corporate retail. So I did that for a period of time. And after a bit, sort of thought, what could I do that could get closer to helping people? Yes, I could, work an Excel spreadsheet all day and use my calculator all the time, and decide what prices should be for product and when I should mark it down and when I should flow it into the store. But I wasn't getting any energy from that. And so I became a recruiter with zero experience recruiting, which kind of feels like a little bit of a theme in my life, actually. But at any rate, I was like, listen, who better to recruit for who we want to come into this company than someone who's doing the job? And um, my title was executive recruiter. And one of the areas that we were recruiting in specifically were on college campuses. And I spent a lot of time on Howard's campus, bringing in some of our young and brightest minds into Gap, who were interested in retail from not only just maybe a fashion perspective, but from a business perspective as well. And I felt like that gave me energy. And then I thought, well, what else could I do? I mean, I'm bringing people in, that's great. But then I thought that I wanted to go into being what's called an HR generalist. And so that's working quite closely with our employees and with our leaders on the employee life cycle. So as someone comes in from that point to the point that they leave the organization, what is their experience like? So I want to do a little bit more than bringing them in. I wanted to say, okay, how can I drive this forward? And then how can I also affect an organization more holistically, if you will? And so I made a little bit of a turn again. Didn't have any experience doing that either, but said, I've been a recruiter. I could definitely be a generalist. I could, what's called an HR business partner. I could do that. Give me a shot. And they did. And I was hired to Visa 7 years ago, came in as a director. And at this point now, as you see, my title is SVP, Deputy Head of People, supporting our Europe region. Which our annual revenue is about 7 billion, an HR team of almost 70, and almost 3,000 employees in that region alone. And it's an awesome opportunity. I'm actually doing a little bit of a sidestep right now. And the reason why I'm Dubai, I'll just give a quick note, so because in case someone's like, well, how is Europe and all that, what does that have to do with Dubai? You know that you may have heard that we had made the decision based on the Ukraine-Russia war to suspend operations in Russia, and the employees that we have there, we have made a commitment to make sure that they have other roles at Visa. And so I'm leading an initiative to help them do that. And again, sort of going back to that roots of wanting to help others and help people. I'm here I'm here in Dubai, where we have moved our Russia colleagues as a holding place as we find other opportunities for them. And not many companies at all is saying, hey, we've decided to suspend operations there, but we're going to make sure that we land you a job. That's not happening most other places, but Visa is committed to doing that. And I'm really proud to be a part of that. So even though I'm getting very little sleep, so I'm doing a couple of jobs right now, really happy to be able to help employees there, which again goes back to what I want to do. And I just would say that the last line is the reason why I went all the way back to how I was raised, all the way to here, is to say, it can be a windy path. Some people know exactly what they want to do. I didn't, and I sort of found my way along the way. I wasn't always an HR professional. I started off in the business, and here I am, and happy ultimately where I've landed. So hopefully that gives you a bit of information about me, and it wasn't too rambly considering it's quite late on this end, but yeah, that's it.
No, we really appreciate it. So let me ask you my favorite question as well. What is it that you like most so far about working at Visa?
I think similar to what Brian said. I mean, I think Visa is, a great organization from a perspective of caring. And I mentioned kind of the work that I'm doing with Russia-based employees, not to mention moving Ukraine employees out of Ukraine and the company owning that, so helping moving people over the border. But besides that, that's just a very recent example. The initiatives that we have stood behind, D&I, and the place of caring. And after the George Floyd event, I feel like our CEO and our company didn't shy away from, hey, there's something that happened here that wasn't right, and we have a voice and a stance to make, and we launched the Visa Black Scholars Program. And so I think that there, as an example of a few other things that were definitely done, I just think that the company does its best to care. I think that there are career opportunities. I wouldn't be able to say something like, hey, I've been able to work here and do this job if it wasn't from a perspective of, you want to do good work, you want to be involved, you want to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
We see that, we recognize that, and career advancement is available. And I think the people that I work with are great. I'll say one last thing on that. Because I didn't grow up in HR, I remember being a time like, oh my gosh, HR people, they just drink the Kool-Aid of any company they're at. They're going to, of course, be that marketer for that company. And I always, I'm not, what I'm saying is truly how I feel. I obviously wouldn't say anything disparaging about the company regardless, but I'm saying it from an authentic place that I do think it's a great company that cares about its employees. We don't get everything right, but we do try to lead first and foremost with our employees in mind. And as was mentioned, lead with the how, our behavior, how we do the things and go about getting those things done are just as important as what gets done.
Awesome. Awesome. So Jasmine, let me thank you again for being one of our panelists. I'll ask you to hang on for our panel discussion and of course our breakouts, but we really appreciate you taking the time, especially considering the time difference. So thank you, Jasmine.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker, but before I do that, I also want to invite you all as candidates. We've got about 165 folks in this Zoom meeting, right? So what I wanted to make sure that you take advantage of is leveraging the chat. So if you have questions for the Visa team, there's lots of recruiters on this call as well. So if you hear something that piques your interest, you can drop those questions into the chat. But at a minimum, I would like for you all to introduce yourselves. If you represent an HBCU, you can drop your HBCU. If you would like to network, drop your LinkedIn profile, drop a link to your LinkedIn profile, and really leverage the chat as we participate in this live and interactive experience. And I want you to take notes. As you hear from the different speakers, you may want to connect with the speaker in the breakout session for two reasons. Not only for the career opportunities available in their particular division within the business, but also you may want to connect them for cultural reasons. You may have a question, for example, for Jasmine, because you identify with Jasmine and her background, and you may want to ask a cultural question to Jasmine in the breakout session, right? Or you may have interest in specific opportunities within that part of the business, and you may want to introduce yourself and what you do and how your background may fit into Visa in that particular division. All right, so let's make sure to make take advantage of this opportunity as we go along and introduce our different panelists. All right, so our next panelist is Adam Clark, Vice President, Applied Cryptography. So Adam, if you're ready.
All right, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
And I believe my video's on.
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right. So, welcome everybody, and thanks for having me here. I'll give a little bit of background about myself. Like the others, I didn't have a straight path to cybersecurity, and definitely didn't have a straight path to leadership. My previous roles, when at one point I was a mailman, and my mom was happy that I had a mailman job because that's a good job, and I decided at some point that I wanted to work on computers. And started to tinker with computers and looking for jobs. Once and this is like Brian, I'm in my early 50s. So when I got into computers early on, there wasn't a lot of resources out there. And so I based my learning on what I needed to learn to get a job on what the job postings were. And just to date myself a bit, back then we didn't have LinkedIn or smart recruiters. We basically had to pull the newspaper, look for jobs. I looked for, what qualifications they had. I would then get the fax number and then set my computer up to send faxes out each night in order to apply for jobs. I got my first job working for DARPA, got a security clearance, and then went into working for DoD for years. I spent about 14 years there. I was shielded from the .com or the internet bubble that busted because I was working for DoD and classified systems, but I had a lot of friends that were in the commercial field. And sometime in 11 years ago, I decided that I wanted to take a chance and see what I could do in the commercial field or in the private sector. A lot of the classified stuff I felt like I was sound and secure in what I was doing. I had a high level clearance, and I thought, how does this convey to post DoD work? And luckily for me, I landed a job at Visa. I started off as an engineer here, worked my way through. I had a vision for what encryption was going to evolve to, and used to have discussions with my manager and skip level discussions with what we used to call our business leaders. And then at one point, our business leader decided that my thoughts around engineering and about our team owning our domain and encryption was a worthwhile effort, and he offered me to run the team. And I thought on it for 24 hours and decided that that was something that I wanted to try to do. I had to, just to fulfill where I thought we should go. And since then, I've been running the team. I was promoted to senior director and then VP last year. The path forward isn't always what you start out to be. I simply started out wanting to work I wanted a computer on my desk where I could work, and through perseverance and curiosity and learning something and trying to see ahead and taking a chance is where I got to where I'm at today. The work that I did, I've had some outstanding opportunities to work with smart people. I learned from people I worked with on things I didn't know. I partnered with people who I thought could lead me or give me direction. I didn't have opportunities like this, which I think are great. I believe in the opportunity for us to reach back and help future leaders of tomorrow to get into technology. I feel like cybersecurity doesn't have enough diversity in it. As a hiring manager, I go through resumes a lot, and I feel that you can't complain about the diversity in a resume pool if you don't help contribute to it. And so Urshan and a lot of the talent acquisition teams here will tell you that I volunteer and try to support getting people interested in cybersecurity. To not discount Visa, but my intention and my overall intention is to help more of us be in cybersecurity. So whether you work for us or a competitor, I think the opportunity to get more diversity in technology and cybersecurity is a huge focal point for me. It is what drives me. What's what makes me show up here. We're on the East Coast. It's in the evening, and I still put my time toward this.
And we appreciate it. Thank you, Adam. Let me ask you my favorite question as well. What is it that you like most about working for Visa?
I'd say opportunity, and whether it's professional or social or economic, right? So at Visa, I can tell you that I started as an individual contributor, had no intention on ever being a people leader. I didn't want to lead people. I felt like it was just too much emotions and things that you had to worry about.
Yep.
But I've been successful at it, right? I had an opportunity to do that, and I was able to progress my career there. But also at the same time, there's other opportunities. You see here, I have a Visa Black Cyber Professionals group, right? We have Vibe. So if you want to do things, the company makes these opportunities available for you. And it's just, you just roll up your sleeve and get involved. We have so many ERGs where the company allows employees, which are employee resource groups, that allow the employees to be participants and drive and lead things. And so those are great things. And then the other thing is that we're a global company. So like we have an SVP on from Dubai, right? There's just about every type of role you can think of within Visa at some point. If I decided that I wanted to be more client facing and get in touch with client managers, we have a client management team. Visa does a Go Share where you can spend 20% of your time working with other companies or with other teams to learn what they do, right? And they support that. So internal mobility is there, internal learning opportunities are there. I can, we have pilots, we have economists, we have lawyers, we have a Visa doctor that they hired, during the COVID a pandemic. So the opportunities for where you can grow and what you want to do are, I can't say endless,
Right.
But there's a lot of opportunity for people to take advantage of.
Awesome. So Adam, let me thank you for being one of our panelists. To our candidates, make sure if you're interested in the area that Adam represents in applied cryptography and technology, definitely talk to Adam in the breakout session. So Adam, I'll ask you to hang on a little bit later as we get started with our panel discussion, but thank you for being one of our panelists.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so our next panelist and speaker is going to be Gia Griffith, Vice President, Accelerated Commercialization. So Gia, if you're ready.
Hello, I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, everyone. I have to say, before I talk about myself, I continue to be, and I know everyone who's spoken to you thus far, I continue to be absolutely impressed with my Visa Black colleagues. And I am that in advance of the question, Will, that you'll ask at the end, that is going to be one of the parts of my answer as to why I enjoy working here at Visa. So a little bit about me. I am a engineer, as you can see, by my college experience. As Ryan mentioned, I also chose to do an MBA after all of that, for whatever that's worth. But just a bit on the journey to get there, I'm going to mention a couple of P's. The first P I'm going to mention is Posse. For those of you who may not know, Posse is a program that believes in providing access for students who would otherwise be overlooked or unseen or unfound from the university perspective. And so it's a program that started in New York some 30 some odd years ago. And I was a Posse scholar and Posse selected Rice University, which is how I ended up leaving New York and going to Houston. And I mention that because as I think about my journey over the years, I think about a couple of things. One is the importance of providing access and what that looks like. And this is just another program that is doing that, where my heart is really into that mission. But also I think about the importance of big change and big swings, if you will, in your life and how that really shapes who you are as an individual. I went to Rice University, was there and did engineering, as you can see, and actually at a NSBE conference, met a lady who talks about this job working at the CIA. And I was like, absolutely, hands down, I'm going to go do that. And it's funny because to this day, I don't really remember what she said. I just know how I felt in that moment. And so fast forward, the CIA took 2 years before I graduated to even decide to call. And they called me on the day I started work at IBM instead. And so I had to defer going there because I was going, but I had already said yes to IBM. So I started out my career knowing that the engineering was a means to an end, but not like you would never find me soldering on a board or checking valve pressures across a technical system, but rather I knew that the engineering helped me to problem solve and keep that at the forefront of how I think through things and the connections of things. And that ended up being very much core to just even what I do today, 20-something years later. So I eventually went to the CIA, and I mentioned that because the other version of a P that I'll mention is the art of the impossible. And we talked about what we were doing there by finding new ways to collect, using engineering to collect intelligence where we couldn't send people as the mission. This notion of a mission focused organization and having a purpose, which is another P that I'll mention. This purpose-driven organization was very core to why I continue to show up every day and continue to do what I did. And I was working for the CIA right when 9/11 happened. And it was interesting because I remember feeling like, well, wait a minute, what you're telling me, something broke in the system. And then on top of that, my home, as a New Yorker, as I mentioned, was attacked. And so what does that mean? That then led me to go through a series of like, okay, so what I'm doing at the agency is really important and it's big and I'm having success. I was promoted every year, uncommon to the normal promotion cycles, and rose through the ranks really quickly. But I still felt like there was a whole world out there that I could go tackle and really shape. And I needed to get out of the government and the intelligence community to be able to do that. So fast forward, I ended up going to Georgetown and doing my MBA and got bit by the international bug, similar to Brian. I lived overseas in different markets, had the ability to build capabilities from within that. My career really went from building technical products in the government space to now building out full-on business capabilities, and then moving into how do you then take that product experience and build organizations, which is very similar to what I'm doing right now at Visa. I currently am a vice president for what's called business strategy and operations at Visa. I am leading both the business strategy and operations and the commercialization function around what started out as our data products, all of our products centered around data, which is now really focused on the products that solve problems around fraud, risk, transaction, security, and the identity space. How do we authenticate to ensure you are the right person? That is important for me because if you think about words that are really important in today's day and age, data, security, identity, Adam just talked about cybersecurity. It's all very relevant to big problems that are happening now. And I appreciate my Visa opportunity to be able to shape how Visa is going to play in that space. As I think about this why Visa for me, the purpose of the work that we do, but the purpose that I'm serving also as a senior leader in the organization to be able to identify talent, hire talent, make decisions on talent, give talent opportunities that if I wasn't in my seat, likely wouldn't necessarily happen for them that same way. I take that really seriously, and it's very important to me. So Will, I'm gonna stop talking because I'm starting to ramble, but ask away if you've got questions.
Yeah, so I think I have a different question for you. Of course, I'll ask my favorite question as well, but one question I have is for someone that's outside of Visa, and they see these different opportunities, that we're going to have in the breakout sessions for the different parts of the business that you represent. What type of skill sets or people in your division do you typically hire and look for?
So I was scanning the chat earlier and I saw data scientists, and the candidate was there, knows you don't tend to see a lot of people of color in the data science field. So I immediately send an email saying, we've got some data scientists on this call. Here are some LinkedIn profiles to look at. But I wrote this down before you asked the question. Number one, I hire people who can think. And it's really important to me. We talk about problem solving, but the ability to actually look at a situation and think it through, that's not something you can teach.
Right.
And so I'm a big believer that there's a lot about the work that I can teach you, but I do need you to come with some core fundamental capabilities. And one of them is the ability to think. The other one is a curiosity. Just, you talked before about asking questions and thinking about the questions that you want to ask based on what you're hearing. We need people who are curious and interested, right? So that's also something that you might not necessarily know what all we do at Visa, or have a really clear sense of what does it mean to commercialize a business or commercialize a set of products, and what does that mean to make a product capability global. But if you're curious and you're interested in that, I can work with you from there. And then the third piece of it is problem solving. You've got to be able to have, again, the curiosity and the fundamental ability to think through problems, but also this to want to solve problems. If you think about the thread, if you will, that kind of weaves everybody together so far, as you listen to Brian and Jasmine or Adam and I up to this point, we all are solving some version of a problem in our space on behalf of the organization. Right? And whether that problem is related to people, or it's technology, or it's, in my particular case, products, and how do you actually make customers buy those products and make those products want to be sold in the market, I'm trying to work on solving that problem.
Awesome. And what is it that you like most about working for Visa?
So I'm right there with everybody around the purpose for the organization. As I thought about the things that were important to me, this ability of providing access, everyone, everywhere, really does resonate. I've mentioned Posse. My roots are in providing access. I also that the global potential. If I think about me and my own self, it was important for me to be able to be tied to this global brand where I actually could go anywhere and do anything within this house. So.
Awesome. So Gia, let me thank you for being one of our panelists. I'll ask you to hang on for our panel discussion. But with that, let me introduce our next speaker. Lloyd Cato is head of corporate IT, corporate systems strategy. So Lloyd, if you're ready.
Well, I am ready. And I feel that I'm going to repeat a number of themes, but that's okay. And just to let you know, on my slide, it says San Diego Mesa College. It's actually San Diego State University for my bachelor's degree. I think that I can echo some of the comments that some of my panelists have said, especially Gia, very impressive background and very impressive how they found their way to where they're at now. For myself, I have a journey that's fairly similar. I'm from the Southern California area. Grew up in the LA area, went to school in San Diego, got my undergrad degree in San Diego. And at the time when I was growing up, I was always into sports, loved, Raiders and Dodgers and Lakers for any of those fans that are out there of those teams. And so I saw myself, especially after the 1984 Olympics, as someone that wanted to go into the sports field. I thought sports medicine, I would be the guy who would be out there, checking on Walter Payton or whoever, making sure that they can get back into the game. And when I got to school and I finally started studying the field, I found that, I'm not sure I want to do this for the next, 20 years. And so I decided to change direction. Initially out of school, after I got my bachelor's degree, I worked for the state of California about 5 years, but then I decided to go back to graduate school and went to Arizona State University. After graduate school, I was able to get a job with American Express. And I found the experience very interesting, very exhilarating, that I was able to work in the payment space and learned that, change is constant within the payment space. And so was able to work on a number of initiatives and projects within product management, within product development, within sales, within operations, all around managing and driving electronic payments into every different environment, use case that you can think of. And I was there at American Express for 14 years, enjoyed my experiences, but had the opportunity to come to Visa about 11 years ago, working on similar projects. I was asked to come in. There was a new product that was being developed, and was asked to begin to build out a team to, one, develop the product and then eventually supported, onboarded clients that wanted to use it, as well as sell the product, and began that process of building out a team and managing the actual set of solutions that Visa at the time wasn't really experienced in, but wanted to begin to venture in around the merchant acceptance space. One of the things that I was able to do was to introduce Visa to a number of fintech players that play within the payment space that they weren't used to dealing with. They were primarily used to dealing with banks, whether they were issuing banks that issued our cards and other products, or acquiring banks that accepted our cards. But they weren't used to the other players that played within the payments ecosystem. And through that introduction and through understanding better how these players worked and how we could potentially partner with them, my job was changed again into leading a team, developing fintech partnerships where we could leverage their capabilities along with Visa's to drive a number of initiatives. One of which was driving contactless acceptance within the US market, as an example. And then from there, have moved on into a corporate IT, where I've had the opportunity to learn more about the business, more from a technology standpoint. And within corporate IT, we are a very diverse organization. We have folks that are working on all kinds of things that support the people within, the people and the contractors within Visa to do their jobs, whether it's to build clients, whether it's to manage sales pipelines, whether it's to manage your talent and to hire and to manage performance, whether it's to have the ability to do your work on laptops and use a number of applications and tools that allow for you to get your job done. I've had a chance to really experience that. And what I do is I drive the strategies that we have within corporate IT. Some of the strategies that I'm working on right now relate to driving how we manage our corporate data. What are our strategies for digitizing and automating and managing that information that is really important for the corporation? How are we doing that, and how can we have a strategy that kind of surrounds that approach? Another thing that I'm working on is Office of the Future. The way people work today is different than the way we worked prior to COVID. And we're looking for ways in which we can design our offices and the capabilities that we have so people can collaborate and partner and be innovative, even in a hybrid environment where some people are in the office and some people are around the world. So those are some of the things that we work on, but there's a whole host of things that we work on within corporate IT that involve technology, that involve support, that involve strategy. And so I say we take all kinds within our organization.
Awesome. Lloyd, let me thank you as well for being one of our panelists. I want to follow up with my favorite question, of course, and that is, what is it that you like most about working for Visa? And then after that, we'll introduce our last panelist.
Sure. I like, first and foremost, I like the people. I think we have an environment where people try to achieve, but they want to be collaborative. They want to partner. That's the nature of who we are, because that's our business. We partner with a whole host of folks out there within the payments ecosystem. We do the same thing inside. The other thing I like is, I like the fact, to my earlier point about when I was at American Express, that things are not stagnant. There's always new things that we're trying to do. The things that we did 5 years ago are different now than what we do today, because the space is changing. It's always innovating. It's always evolving. We're working on new ways of developing and delivering services that maybe we didn't work on 3 years ago, and that will continue to happen within our business. That opportunity to continue to grow and learn will always be there.
Awesome. So Lloyd, let me thank you for being one of our panelists. And with that, let me introduce our next panelist. And Lloyd, I'll ask you to hang on for our quick panel discussion as we introduce our breakout sessions. But our next panelist is Theresa Lagree, Vice President, Head of DPS Client Services. So Theresa, if you're ready.
I will. Hi, everybody. Can you
Greetings.
imagine being last, trying to come up with a great answer to your questions?
Thank you.
And then looking at my picture like, wow, it's pre-COVID picture. So I'm Theresa Lagree. I'm currently based in the Visa Atlanta office, which is a new office for us. I am a native New Yorker. I moved to Atlanta right before Thanksgiving. So I'm enjoying all this pollen that is in Atlanta. I've been at Visa, as it says, for the last 13 years or so. I definitely am not in a place that I thought I would ever be. I grew up, like I said, in New York City, and my hope was to graduate from high school and get a good job, right, at the post office, at an electric company or something like that. That was really the expectation for myself. I did want a little bit more for myself. For some reason, I always wanted to work in the office, right? Didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to work in an office environment. I too had a child when I was in my first year of college. And so it kind of deterred a little bit of that. So I started my first job at American Express when I was in college. I just happened to know somebody there. They were looking for somebody after hours. And so I have the opportunity to work there. I worked there all through my college experience. And then once I graduated, they offered me a permanent job. But what I would say is that at my time at American Express, I had some really great mentors. There were, Black women who were there who recognized that I was a young girl that had a kid and was really trying. And, they really helped me navigate the corporate environment because I was a girl from Brooklyn. And so a lot of the things there was very foreign to me. And so they really took me under their wings, if you will, and helped me navigate. I spent probably about 13 years or so at American Express, and then kind of attached myself to a leader who was there, who moved over to Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. She brought me over with her, offered me a job. And then I stayed there for a couple of years. How I got to Visa, right at I guess when we had the big recession right after 9/11, I was just not happy in the role that I had. I just felt like I had so much more and my role was very limited. And so I decided to take a chance at Visa. It was a contracting role for 4 months. At the time, my husband thought I was crazy to quit a full-time job and take a job that was for 4 months. And I promised him that I would work hard enough for them to keep me. And here we are 13 years later. My experience at Visa has been a great one. I feel like I definitely hit my stride in my career once I reached Visa. I started in what we call our Visa Consultant and Analytics group, where I really learned a lot of critical thinking skills, how to approach problem solving. And it was just a fabulous experience. I moved on to sales. And then I completely pivoted for for the role that I'm in today. And so I lead a team of client services managers that support the debit processing business for Visa. And really what client services is the backbone of Visa. So every product that we have, every bank that uses our technology to process payments have to connect with us. And so my team and other teams like mine, depending on the service, they have to implement it. And then we manage it from an ongoing operations perspective. So it's a very interesting role. Absolutely not what I ever thought myself I would be in an operations role. But I think Gia made the point that I love it. It's about how you think and how you can problem solve. And so taking the skills that I learned in consulting and marketing and product and things like that and applying it to an operations role and leading the team and recognizing that I didn't need to know operations. I just needed to know how to effectively lead the team has been something that I've been learning in this role over the last 20 months. I am excited to be here. I'm excited about HBCU Connect. My son is actually graduating from Morehouse, yay, in May of this year, so May 15th this year. And so
Awesome.
Called him, do you know about HBCU Connect? So I'm excited to be here and share my experiences with you guys.
Awesome. We're excited to have you. So as we're getting ready to transition into this next part of the program, I'm going to have to make a little bit of a modification. But Theresa, if you could answer our favorite question, and that is, what is it that you like most about working for Visa?
I would say, in addition to what everybody else said about the people and the genuine interest in driving careers and helping people succeed, over the last couple of years, and I've been here for 13 years, but I would say over the last few years that there has been such a commitment to diversity that I'm just very proud to work at a company that has really taken diversity and really want to make sure that people there are committed. Everybody is not committed to it, but I think from the top down that we really talk a lot about diversity, and the company has done some really big things to show the commitment and not just talk about it. I mean, the Visa Atlanta office is a perfect example. We just opened up in November. We have about 150 people in the office, but the aspiration is to grow to 1,000 people, and that is net new headcount by the next, I think it's the next 3 years. So
wow.
I think it's just amazing that to work for a company that is not afraid, bold about diversity in this day and age.
Awesome. So Theresa, I'll ask that you stay on video, and I'm going to invite all of our other Visa panelists. If you would turn on your video, I'm going to have a slight modification to our program because I don't want to cheat our candidates out of the conversations and the questions that they might have in the breakout session. And we've got some really good insight already on the culture and background on our panelists so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, instead of us going into, a 10 or 20 minute, panel discussion, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each of you to pitch your breakout session. So if I'm a candidate, what kind of candidate would you like to see in your breakout session quickly, right? So that we can give all of our candidates a quick last minute snapshot of who will be in each breakout session and what type of candidates to jump into that breakout session. But then I also want to invite our candidates, if you, like I said, if you relate to the background of one of our panelists and you want to ask a cultural question to one of our panelists, feel free to jump into the appropriate breakout session to engage with that particular panelist. And then what I'm going to do in lieu of us having that cultural, podcast style panel discussion, I'm going to broadcast those questions to all of the breakout sessions as you all are in the breakout session. So if you want to address those cultural questions that I broadcast, you can do that. But if you're in the midst of some good conversations with our candidates and good questions from our candidates, you all can do that as well. So what I want to do right now is for each breakout room, I like to have the representative sort of pitch that breakout room and the types of candidates that you'd love to see in your breakout room. So starting with the people business and human resources. So I believe that's Jasmine.
Yes, that's me. Hi. Let's see. I love to have people in the room who obviously are interested in human resources or the people business. Also, anyone who has questions about career pathing or career development. If you were able to hear a little bit about my story around kind of, how do you make a switch maybe from this to that? Yeah, and any general questions that I could help you with when you think about your journey as you're looking for a new role or growing your career.
Awesome. Thanks, Jasmine. So Jasmine will be in the people business breakout session once I open up the breakout sessions. Client services.
What I would say, someone that is passionate about transformation, we are in the process of really thinking about how we modernize our service and how we build better client experiences. So anybody that's interested in transformation, come in the room too.
Awesome. Awesome. So Theresa will be in the client services room. Product, I believe is is that Gia?
Yes, it's Gia. Sorry. I had a visitor and I was trying to figure out how to come off from mute.
No
I
worries.
told him he had to be quiet, but clearly I can say, don't wave your hands. So if the words, put your hands in. If the words builder, innovator, activator resonate with you and who you sign up to, definitely come to the product room. And if you're thinking about the objective of how to get customers what they didn't even know they needed, come to the product room.
Awesome. So Gia will be in the product room. So if you'd like to join Gia. Cybersecurity, I believe that's Adam.
Yeah, well, anybody who wants to join the best team, no, I'm joking. Honestly, cybersecurity is such a big field, right? So anybody who has any interest in cybersecurity.
Oops, I think I accidentally muted you, Adam, if you could unmute.
All right. All right, so I'll try this again. So honestly, cybersecurity is such a big field. If you have any curiosity around cybersecurity, either getting started, experienced, getting ready to join the workforce, just reach out to me. And it's not just cybersecurity, right? We have project managers, we have developers. So there's a suite of tools that we support. And so if you're interested in security, you're interested in working for the best team at Visa, come to room 4.
Awesome. So Adam will be in the cybersecurity room, and you'll see that once I open up the breakout session to our candidates, you'll see the names of those breakout sessions. And so our next one is corporate information technology. So Lloyd, if you like to pitch which candidates you'd like to see in your session.
Yeah, I mean, for corporate information technology, we're so broad. There's so many things that we do. We have architects, we have software engineers, we have application developers, we have support people because we're working with either building out applications ourselves, a lot of package applications, Workday and Oracle and Microsoft. And so it's a very broad space because we're working with every single business organization within Visa, along with providing end user services for all of the employees. Any folks that have any kind of background in any of those areas, I mean, it gets so broad, they're welcome to join.
Awesome. So Lloyd and team will be in the corporate IT breakout session. And then infrastructure, last but not least, Brian, if you'd like to make the pitch on which candidates you'd like to come to your room.
Absolutely. In infrastructure, like a lot of the other areas, is quite broad. It's compute, it's storage, it's network, all kinds of layers across the stack. It's design, it's engineering, it's operations, it's data center. And if you're interested in learning about that side of the house, we like to call the back office of technology companies, or how things run and supporting, or if you're just interested in hearing about what we do, I'd love to have you. And also, if you're still trying to figure out, I do not know what I want to do, there's something for you over here. So just let me know.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Brian. So Brian will be in the infrastructure breakout session. So quick housekeeping for the breakout session to our candidates. This is your opportunity. If you would like to, if you're in a place where you can do so, you can turn on your video and you can leverage your audio. But the way we're going to organize this so that we're not talking over each other and that kind of thing is I'm going to ask that you use the reaction feature within Zoom. So find the reaction feature. And then within reactions, you can raise your hand. So you click on raise your hand and you'll pop up on the list of people that would like to ask a question using your audio and video. Then someone from the Visa team can call on you to ask that question. You can ask your question and then lower your hand using the reactions as well. Now, if you don't want to come on video and audio, you can use the chat. So you can ask questions in the chat. And to the Visa team, please keep an eye on the chat for any questions that come through. I know there will be several folks in each breakout session from Visa. So if you all would kind of collaborate and help each other out as you moderate those different sessions, look for questions in the chat, look for questions from our candidates on audio and video, and make sure to take advantage of the breakout session to all of our candidates. And I hear a lot of feedback from our candidates asking how can they land an interview? How can they land a job at the different companies that we partner with? This is your opportunity to ask some good questions, to introduce yourself, who you are. You know, I'm Will Moss. I'm a computer scientist. I work at Bell Labs. Keep it succinct and short. Don't hog up all the time. Ask your question, whether it's a culture question or a specific question about that particular business unit, and then take notes and then engage and follow up via LinkedIn and network. All right. So take advantage of this opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and open up the breakout sessions, and everyone can self-select into their breakout sessions. So once I open up the breakout sessions, utilize Zoom to go into breakout rooms. I'm going to open all rooms, and you all can now start to select the appropriate room to go into. Now, if you have trouble, like for example, if you're dialing in from a phone and you don't have Zoom to log in, I'll stay here in the main session to help people get put into the appropriate breakout rooms. So the way you can do that is just come off of mute and ask me for help getting into a breakout room. So everyone, please take advantage. We've got about 20 to 25 minutes for the breakout sessions. You all can all go and join your appropriate session. Thank you. I'll try to help the Visa folks first. If you don't self-select to move yourself into a breakout session, I'll try to help you out. Let's see here.
Hey, I'm not a Visa folk, but I'm a data scientist, software developer, and I was wondering which one do you think would be more closely related to what I do?
Irshan, are you still with us, or are you going to join one of the breakout sessions?
Yeah, I'm gonna join the breakout session. I'm sorry. What's the question though?
Yeah, I was going to try to help this gentleman out. He's a data scientist. I believe it was Gia, the product group is looking for data scientists. So, but you can feel free to move around. Was that Michael?
That is correct. Yes,
So,
Michael.
Yeah, Michael.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Michael, we don't have a data scientist representative here, but as Gia said, she's forwarded someone off to one of our data scientist recruiters. It might behoove you to jump into Gia's product group for just a little bit. But then at the same time, as you know, we do have technical masters on the call. So, you know, it might help if you jump around a little bit, but definitely try to jump into Gia's product for a little bit to see if she can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, great. I heard that as well from her talk. Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
I'm going to pause the recording.
Everything they said today, honestly, was even takeaways for me, and I've been with them. And again, you know, not to call her out because I know she's humble, but we even have one again in Dubai in the morning with the sun, you know, still down. And in fact, I think she's going to jump on a flight here in a second. So just to conclude and provide next steps, I put into the chat function, you'll see our microsite for career opportunities. Some of you had a lot of career opportunity questions, which is great. If you click on that site, it'll take you and provide you some opportunities in Atlanta, Austin, San Francisco, New York, Ashburn, Colorado. So we have opportunities across the board. We're looking for talent such as yourselves. And then I've also placed my LinkedIn in there as well. What we'll do is perform a follow-up and go ahead and send an email out to you all once Will and Doug follow up the event, and Tamika follow up the event and provide us the resumes of those in attendance. And then that way we can reach out and do some communication and share some other things with you all. So just wanted to say thank you so much, all of you, for attending. It was a pleasure on our side to be able to connect with you. Thank you for my TA team and especially my executives who dedicated their time to connect with you all. I only asked once, everyone jumped on the opportunity, everyone was excited and pumped to be here with you. And so I'm blessed on that end. So thank you so much, Will and Doug and Tamika, for your partnership.
No, we thank you. And let me thank not only the Visa team, but to all of our candidates. Without you all coming, these events obviously would not be possible. So thank you and best of luck to you as you pursue career opportunities with Visa. But I will say that I've been thoroughly impressed with the Visa team and how seriously they have taken this opportunity to connect with you as candidates. So let that inspire you to pursue careers at Visa. I'd say be proactive, not only in letting us, submitting your resume to us at HBCU Connect to share with Visa, but also be proactive, checking out the links that Irshan provided and applying to opportunities so that you can get multiple looks from the Visa team. But with that being said, really appreciate all of your participation. Again, thank you all to the Visa team for taking the time out. Means a lot to us at HBCU Connect and to our candidates. And to our candidates, thank you all for making this event possible by coming to this event. But make sure to take action after the event and follow up with Visa. All right, everyone, have a great evening. We'll follow up with email and the video from this event for you to have for a recap. Take care.
Thanks so much for everything. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Later, guys.
This is
Thanks,
good.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again, Will, for setting this up. Have a good one.
My pleasure. Take care, brother.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Good day. Goodbye.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.